let's explore Exposure by Robert Fripp.
In the heavens. Okay, for male artists, that would be Robert Fripp. Robert Fripp forever, in my opinion. As long as there's a Robert Fripp, there's going to be a King Crimson. And Robert Fripp's guitar style is just amazing. Yes, he can get experimental, but he has also great variety in his music. So, Robert Fripp.
Thank you, Mike, from Tcat's Deep Vinyl Traxx. I don't know if he's going to be so thankful after this video, though. The saving grace is, if you saw his introductory video, he said that he would like to have Robert Fripp with him in heaven as one of the people who would most entertain him because he was very experimental. And he did not recommend this album specifically, but he did hold it up. When I saw that album, I really wanted to try it because I have recently been listening to some prog, like early King Crimson and some other things. But I thought, well, hey, he's recommending it, so let me jump on and listen to that. I'm going to say that this album is not what I expected. When you look at the album cover, you see a Brian Ferry type singer, right? You're going to think smooth vocals, just some great, maybe orchestration, some pop songs. Wrong. If you go into this album thinking that you're going to get pop music, you're going to be extremely disappointed. If you go into this album looking for experimental music, you're going to get what you're looking for. So some background. Exposure was worked on from 1977 to 1979 and was released in 1979, and it's Robert Fripp's debut studio album. Now, he wanted to focus on the pop song format, right? But he was not creating pop music. Now, this grew out of collaborations that he had previously done with David Bowie, Peter Gabriel, and Daryl Hall. And in fact, Peter Gabriel and Daryl Hall both appear on this album. Many of the lyrics for the album were provided by Joanna Walton, who was unfortunately killed in the terrorist bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. Now, there are many versions of this album out there. I think I only listened to the original one. Side 1 has 8 songs. Side 2 has 9 songs, but many of the songs are around 2 minutes each, and some of them are less. There's only 1 or 2 songs that are around 4 minutes. The album starts with a preface and ends with a postscript. Now, in this album, you're going to get a lot of different styles of music, right? So that is something that Mike mentioned, that there's going to be a lot of variety and experimentalism, and that is so true on this album. I'm going to go through most of the songs. I do skip a couple because they're similar in format to other songs. Now, the preface is a very short track. It also, within this really short track, there's that quote, and then there's all these voices that start going, ah, and they all come together, and they build. And then finally, the telephone starts ringing. And to me, this was a flashback to Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America, which I love that movie, but I hate that scene when I have to listen to the telephone ringing for over a minute. And I know it's impressionistic because it leads into it. Okay, we're not talking about that movie. And it's supposed to be impressionistic on this album as well. But I don't want to listen to a phone ringing over and over again. To me, that creates anxiety. I mean, I want someone to pick that damn phone up. And he does. He picks it up at the end of the album. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. But I think the point is, some of these tracks are designed to create anxiety in the listener. So I think that opening track is really, really meant to create that feeling. I didn't want to feel it, though. I mean, I put on this album thinking it would be pop music. And I have to be traumatized by the phone. Number 2, we go right into a rocket number, right? This sounds like so many other rock songs. Like I heard, like Move It On Over and Roll Over Beethoven. It's got this like boogie feel, and it's called Burn Me Up Like a Cigarette. Then track 3, we go into my actual favorite song on the album. Which is an instrumental called Breathless. Now, this instrumental really does a good job of creating a sense of dread and menace. But the way the guitar and the instruments are repeated over and over, they move into different, like it's always the same. I'm not a musician, so it's always like the same music, but it moves into another type of music and then comes back. Okay, I did not explain that very well. Like they'll add something, but it's still going to be the same tune. It's a variation, there we go, variations on that same tune or melody, and it just builds and builds. And to me, like the guitars keep going, and it really like builds this sense of dread and menace, and it harkened back to that phone call in the preface. Number 4, I never want to hear this song again in my life. It's called Disengage. Now, this features Peter Hamill, who is famous from Van de Graaff Generator. And this song sounds like someone having a mental breakdown on stage. He screams throughout the entire song. I'm gonna assume it's Robert Fripp. Like, he's screaming. It's just like screaming, Disengage! Disengage! It's like, I guess it's carrying on with that feeling of sense and dread. And so maybe this album is about alienation, and I don't know, but that song, I don't want to hear it again. I don't want to hear Disengage ever again. However, after hearing that total mind screw of a song, Disengage, that had me, listening to a mental breakdown, we get to the very, very nice and normal North Star. Hearing North Star is like a drink of cool water after the hell of a song that is Disengage.
How clear, how far, how clear. Now touch here.
So, it's a different singer. It's Daryl Hall, and it's calm and it's nice, and like I said, it's like a refreshing drink of water. Now, the next couple of songs, we got another screechy song, then we have a short ambient tune, then we get to the last song on side 1. Oh, you know what? Let's backtrack. It's weird to have short ambient tracks on something like this. So, right, you just have this background noise. It's not really music. It's just this like humming background noise, and it's short. But it's so different from everything else on the album, where we have these jangling, jarring noises, and then all of a sudden you have this background noise. It's just it's weird, right, on this album. And then we have the last song on the side 1, which is called Mary, and to me it's sung very, very nicely, and it sounds like a Joni Mitchell song. In fact, even the vocals sound like Joni Mitchell. Like, I think I don't know who sang the song, but whoever did, they were, I think, mimicking Joni Mitchell.
And she was always my sister. And she was all.
So now we get to side 2. We're going to talk about Exposure, right? It's the title track of the album, and it starts out really nice. It sounds like a early Peter Gabriel song, like everything about it. In fact, I believe it was in part written by Peter Gabriel. So it starts out, right? And then Robert Fripp starts screaming. And I feel like he was doing that thing like John Lennon was doing, right? So, scream therapy in Mother, in the Mother song, which is such a great song. Some of the lyrics say, "It is impossible to achieve the aim without suffering." So the whole point behind the song, if you listen to the lyrics, is we gotta suffer, and we're gonna suffer with him. The whole time he's screaming, I keep thinking, what is he doing to his voice? He's like damaging his vocal cords. Like, he is straight up screaming, and he does it for extended periods of time. Like, he tries to scream as long as he can, and then as soon as you think he's done, he raises the pitch of his scream. And keeps going. And I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, this poor guy's vocals, like, how long was he out? I kept thinking, like, wow, this is painful. It was painful. It's a painful song to listen to. So we get another song. I don't know how to pronounce it. Like Hayden. It's got H with 2 A's, and each A has a circle over the A. I don't know how you pronounce that. Like, I'm just gonna say Hayden. Hayden 2, and this was like the song that I liked initially, Breathless. But so it seemed like it was a variation on that. Then we have another ambient piece called Urban Landscape. And then we get to another Peter Gabriel song called Here Comes the Flood. And he sings that very nice and softly. And, you know, the lyrics obviously aren't going to be anything positive. They're talking about floods coming. Then we get a 4-minute ambient song, which is out of place, right? Because the other ambient tracks were about a minute. And then all of a sudden we're listening to 4 minutes of ambient noise, right? It's kind of like background noise. It's not music. But what is that doing on a pop album? I was just confused. Then we get to the song Postscript. And Robert Fripp is talking on the phone. I'm assuming it's Robert Fripp, right? And so he finally picked up that phone, and he repeatedly says over and over, "Big hoax. It's a big hoax. Big hoax. Big hoax." And so I'm like, did he just play this huge joke on me? Like, what is a big hoax? Me listening to this album thinking that it's pop music? Okay, I had a gut, like, visceral reaction to this album. I think that's what I'm supposed to have. I think this album is playing tricks on us. We think it's going one way. It starts off with this, like, ooh, bebop-a-lula. Like, after we get through, like, the initial, we have this, like, rock song that's kind of lulling us into this, like, horror show of a song. And then we have these calm, quiet, even going into ambient before we're hit again with people screaming at us and having mental breakdowns. Like, this album is not a fun listen. This album is going to take you places, and this album is going to require a lot of you. Do I recommend this album? That is very, very tricky. This album is a great album. I don't think I would want to listen to it every week, right? This is an album that I want to appreciate for, number one, the variety, number two, the workmanship. Like, for me, I'm just amazed that Robert Fripp could scream that much and still have a voice. And of course, Mike originally stated how he appreciates Robert Fripp's experimentalism, and that's what you get dripping all over this album. If you like pop music, you are not going to like this album. You might like pieces of it. If you're interested in instrumentals, I highly recommend you listen to Breathless. If you're interested in experimental music, you definitely have to listen to this one. If you aren't one to shy away from things that sound quite ugly, right? This is not a pretty album to listen to. So, if you enjoyed this episode of the Vinyl Community Recommends I Listen, please subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. And don't forget to watch one of my other videos. I still hope that after this review, Mike still subscribes to me. Mike, I'm telling you, I thank you for this experience, right? This was a tough listen, but I'm so glad that I experienced it. Again, thank you for watching.
In direction we cannot even choose a side.